avoid arguments. And this is pretty much foundational information so that you can just get off that hamster wheel. Because if you're caring for a family member with dementia and you want to stop the endless cycle of arguments and protests, this is where you want to be, because this might sound familiar. You might hear your loved one saying, I can drive just fine, but the car is covered in dents and scratches. I don't need your help, but there are piles of unpaid bills on the dining room table and the fridge is filled with spoiled food. Or you hear, I just took a shower, but your family member is sitting in front of you and they're looking rough, wearing soiled clothing. When you are dealing with this every day and multiple times a day, you need real help, and not just silly TikTok videos, but real concrete help. So that's what I am diving into today. So whether you are a family caregiver for a person living with dementia or you're helping a family caregiver, this is the webinar to be, to get the support and tools you need so that you have a calmer and less stressful experience, so that you can lovingly respond and reconnect to your family member living with dementia. So you're joining this, and I'm Rita Jablonski, and I'm a nurse practitioner, researcher, and expert in non-drug ways to prevent and manage many dementia behaviors. I've been working with people living with dementia for the past 40 years, and I've been helping family caregivers for really the last 20. I've published a book called Make Dementia Your Bitch, and I host a podcast by the same name. And that podcast has been in the top 10 dementia podcasts for 2022 and 2023. So that's pretty exciting. But I didn't always know how to prevent and manage common dementia behaviors, especially the hamster wheel of arguments and protests that people living with dementia give to caregivers. In fact, when I first started out as a nursing assistant in the mid 80s, 40 years ago, I was bombarded with protests and arguments, and I didn't know what to do. So I started to find solutions by trial and error. And that's what I did until fast forward in the 90s when I was getting my PhD, and I started delving into neurobiology and learning more about brains and behaviors. And everything started to click because I realized that the brain changes were causing behaviors. So the goal of this webinar today is to share with you 4 immediate steps you can take to handle protests and arguments right now. And I see one more person has joined, so I'm going to open up your microphone and camera for when you want to start asking questions. Okay. There we go. So I want to share with you 4 approaches you can take with you right now. The first one is the okay and. People living with dementia start out with having issues with short-term memory, then it progresses for longer-term memory. And oftentimes, the first thing we all do, and I did it too, is to use logic and use the term remember, I told you. So when the person asked me the same question, 6 times, I would say, I just told you. I remember having someone who kept asking me what time it was. And being human, I would answer, what time is it? It's 9 o'clock. What time is it? 9:01. What time is it? 30 seconds since the last time you asked. that wasn't helpful. And then the person living with dementia would get very angry and upset with me because in their mind, this is the first time they've asked the question. And one of the things that can help you get off that exhausting argument loop is to use the okay and. Okay, as in, okay, I've heard you, and then you bridge to another topic or activity jumping off the and. For example, why can't I drive? I drive just fine. I want to drive. One response can be, okay, I hear that you want to drive, and dinner is almost ready. Can you stir this? Can you help me by stirring this? It's going to feel rude. It's going to feel like you're dismissing the person. And it will take a few times to get used to this. But it's an approach to get off of that argument loop. I don't know if any of you have ever driven in places that have those roundabouts, which I hate. They were big in Jersey for a while. I think they're still there. And when I was driving in Sarasota, every friggin' intersection had one of those roundabouts. And if you're not careful, if you get in the wrong lane, you may wind up driving around and around until you can get into the outer lane and get off one of the ramps. And there are times where caring for someone with dementia feels like you're in a nonstop roundabout. So one of the strategies you can tack on or layer on the okay and is asking for help. And it's a great distraction, and it works great with the okay and approach because people with memory problems often aren't sure what they should be doing, especially as the dementia becomes more progressive. And not knowing what they're supposed to be doing can be a source of anxiety. I've had people saying to me, where should I be? What should I be doing? So by asking for help, you are providing necessary structure and direction while easing them out of the argument loop. And using the above example, I want to drive, why can't I drive? Okay, I hear you want to drive. And dinner's almost ready. Can you help me and stir the sauce? Wow, that's great. It also is a good approach to keep the sentences short and direct. So I have a colleague who, when she tries to work with her family member, she gives this whole background story. Instead of saying, please get out of bed, she'll say, you need to get out of bed because I have to go to work, and if you don't get out of bed, I'll be late for work. The only thing the person living with dementia is going to hear is, I'm going to be late for work, which then her family member says, why are you going to be late for work? Why are you going to work today? And it just turns into this other new loop. And I've been working with her and saying, keep your sentences shorter, because with the memory problems, people can only hold on to a couple short sentences. So in the beginning of the dementia journey, you can say, please take the dog outside and then feed her. As the dementia gets worse, it's going to be, please take the dog outside. And when your family member comes back in, please feed her dinner. The most controversial one, I get a lot of pushback on this, is to apologize. And so many family members say, I didn't do anything wrong. I know you didn't. It's a technique. Here's an example. You've told your mom or your dad that they have a doctor's appointment, or maybe you've told your spouse. Today is Monday, and you told them Friday, you told them Saturday, you told them Sunday. It's on the calendar. There is the postcard from the doctor's office stuck on the fridge. You get up in the morning and you're trying to get things together, and they're still sitting in their pajamas. And you say, you need to get ready for your doctor's appointment. And your family member looks at you with a totally blank look on their face and say, what doctor's appointment? And it is really tempting to say, the one I've been talking about, the appointment on the fridge, here it is on the calendar. We just talked about this. That's not going to go anywhere. That's going to take you right on that roundabout argument. No, you didn't tell me. Yes, I did. You're crazy. You're always saying things. And those of you listening probably know where this is going. Instead, you can say, oh, geez, I forgot. You have a doctor's appointment. Let's get ready. So these four strategies actually complement one another, and they're really great to get off the argument loop.